Hey everyone, Clay here. Just wanted to let you know I've got a new comic book out right now from Comixology Originals and Amazon. It's called Hardstyle Juice. It's a professional wrestling murder mystery, so if you're into pro wrestling and comics and all that good stuff, you're going to want to check it out. And it's free to read if you have Amazon Prime. It's a digital-only comic. If you want to check it out, head over to hardstylejuice.com, and that'll direct you right to the page where you can check it out. That's hardstylejuice.com. Thanks, guys. Hello, welcome to the Rotten Horror Picture Show, the horror movie podcast where we talk about films off the Rotten Tomatoes 200 Best Horror Movies of All Time list. My name is Clay, and with me, as always, is Amanda. How you doing, Amanda?
I'm good. I have my flashlight, and I'm ready to pull this strange rope in your basement.
Excellent. Get a small knife and a measuring tape, I guess. You'll be good to go.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes, we are into October. And the weather is getting colder, and you can tell because I have lost my voice again.
Hey.
Which is more consistent than the list that we take our movies off of. So, I apologize in advance. But today we are talking about Barbarian from 2022.
I am stoked.
It is number 101.
Crime. That's a crime.
On our list, which I will expand on more in a few moments. It has a 92% Rotten Tomatoes score with a 71% audience score. Huh. Actually, a lower audience score than Smile.
People have no taste.
Yeah, I know. Well, you know, that's the movie where they smile at you. It's terrifying. Had you seen this before? I'm going to say you probably have.
I had. I've actually only seen it once before, but I
Did we see this together?
It. No, we did not.
Oh, that's right.
I missed out on the opportunity to see it in the theater. I don't know why. I think I was just away or busy or something. Mm-hmm. But I ended up watching it remotely with our friend Laura. Mm-hmm. So we were chatting while we were both watching it, and it was such a fun experience because while Laura enjoys horror movies, Laura is also a little easier to scare than
fun.
You or I.
Yeah.
So there was a whole stretch of the movie where she was just like, fuck this, fuck. Why do I do this to myself? Why do I watch these movies? I hate this. This is too much. Mm-hmm. And then Justin Long appeared, and we both had a grand old time with that.
Excellent.
So it was really fun.
Yeah, those are the best people to watch. It's really sad because there's a bit of sadomasochism built into it.
Oh, yeah. There's absolutely the glee of getting to see somebody who's not as much of a horror movie person get slowly mentally attacked.
Yeah. One of the scariest movie experiences I ever had, and one of the reasons I like doing this is because if you have the right person, their fear makes you more fearful. And one of the scariest movie-going experiences I ever had was when I went to see Paranormal Activity with my girlfriend, who very much scares very easily. Mm-hmm. But on top of that, she's a coiler, which, like, as the suspense builds,
yes,
she starts to tighten and tighten and tighten.
Like a boa constrictor.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as the movie is getting more tense, you're also clocking how she's feeling.
Yeah,
and
the
so
facial
you're starting
expressions and her whole body tenses up.
The best example of this was actually a couple years later. We watched Paranormal Activity 2. I may have told the story before. I probably have. And we were watching it with our friend at home. And there's a scene in that movie where, as this movie does, they just kind of hold the camera for a long time, and you're kind of waiting for something to happen.
Right.
And in this particular instance, it was in the kitchen of the house. Mm-hmm. And what ended up happening was all of the cabinets and everything explode.
I think I remember that scene. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very sudden. We're watching this the build up to this, where it's just a static shot of the kitchen, and she, before anything happens, like literally
Yes.
1 or 2 seconds before something happens, she just screamed. And so we both looked at her and missed what happened in the movie because she fired off too early.
Nice. The anticipation got to her and
Yes.
she broke. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So needless to say, she doesn't watch a lot of those movies with me anymore.
So when you saw this movie, Barbarian, were you in the theater?
I was, yes.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know anything about it. I've been doing a pretty good job in the last couple years of coming across these movies that are sort of like indie or kind of under the radar movies.
Yeah, they're the sort of edge cases. Like they're going to get a major theatrical release, but they're not, the next in the Conjuring or Annabelle franchise.
Yeah. And hearing about them, hearing good stuff about it, and then I just go, that's all I need to know. And so I kind of go in as blind as possible. And I don't think I had watched a trailer for this or anything.
I feel like I saw one trailer for this, but it was very vague.
Yeah.
Which I appreciated.
Yeah. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know what the hell it was about. And so the whole time I'm watching it, I'm just along for the ride trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah, I knew about the Airbnb premise, but I didn't know anything beyond that.
Yeah.
It's the best way to go into this movie is as blind as possible. So shut off this podcast.
Yes. If you have not seen this movie, shut the podcast off.
Yeah.
A, for your own enjoyment of the film, and B, because it's going to sound insane. All of the elements that are involved.
Yes.
If you don't know the
context.
context.
You will think that you improperly downloaded this episode and it got somehow smushed together with another one and we switched talking about a different movie in the middle.
And you're going to say, they talked for an hour and a half and didn't even mention Conan or Tulsa Doom.
Ha. Ha ha.
Conan O'Brien.
Not Conan the Barbarian?
No.
No.
Anyway. We're going to take a quick break, play the trailer for you, and come back and talk about Barbarian.
And the organizations ain't really organized. Yellow.
Listen, AJ, I gotta tell you, there's no new money coming in.
I could sell the Michigan properties. Some of those make money, right?
You're gonna have to make some tough choices.
Greater Wayne Property Management.
Yeah, Bonnie, it's AJ. I'm in Detroit, and I'm here to do some liquidating. Is someone staying here at the moment?
I don't think so.
Well, someone's here. There's a suitcase and clothes. Do I have squatters?
Have a nice day.
Hello? Somebody here?
Okay, Barbarian, directed by Zach Kreger. This is his first movie. He was, before this, was part of the sketch comedy troupe The Whitest Kids You Know, which is one of those groups that I was aware of but never watched.
Same.
Can't remember if it was that one of those groups had like a show on IFC or something. I don't remember. Anyway, I'm sure it was hilarious. It's also written by Zach Kreger, starring Georgina Campbell, Justin Long, Joe Chill from Batman Begins, Matthew Patrick Davis as the mother, and Pennywise from It as the red herring. Amanda, what happens in Barbarian?
A young woman discovers the rental home she booked is already occupied by a stranger. Against her better judgment, she decides to spend the night, but soon discovers there's a lot more to fear than just an unexpected house guest.
FDR was full of shit.
What?
The only thing you have to fear is fear itself. Or a giant monster mother.
I was going to say, Clay, this movie is more about Reaganism.
Okay.
Anyway, other than Ronald Reagan, some things in this movie, some things you'll find in this movie include darkened doorway after darkened doorway or secret door inception.
My favorite thing. One of my favorite things are doors that open to passages that lead to other doors.
Very dark passages.
Especially ones that go underground. A door or a threshold of any kind.
Yes, stairs leading into the darkness.
That opens into something deeper than you thought it was going to be. One of my favorites.
Bonnie, the extremely unhelpful property manager.
Yeah. I'm sure many of you can say from experience.
Yeah, with the property manager or a landlord.
Property managers kind of suck.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we were looking into getting one and we were trying to look up reviews and every review for every single one was negative.
Yeah.
And then someone was like, yeah, you're not going to find a good one. They're all terrible.
They're all bad.
Apologies to any property managers who listen to the show. We're sure you guys are great.
Yeah. Hashtag not all property managers.
Yeah, something like that.
Graphic breastfeeding.
The best kind. That's the kind they don't let you do in the mall.
When you're a giant monster and your baby is a fully grown adult man.
Yeah, well, you know.
Speaking of which, mother-baby bonding time.
Important, very important.
Yeah, it's an important part of the development of a young human. Clay's favorite cop plot.
Yeah, this was a good one in that the cops show up, are incredibly unhelpful, and then they leave.
Yeah. Are like pointedly unhelpful.
Yeah.
Return of the Momster.
Yes. This is 2 movies in a row, both from the same year.
Yeah, I was going to
have
call that out too.
A giant mother monster.
Momster. And truly horrific parenting.
Yes. She's doing the best that she can.
She's doing all she knows how.
Yeah.
But when I say truly horrific parenting, I mean Frank.
Yes, that's fair. Yeah. I couldn't help but think of, have you been listening to the series they've been doing on last podcast about Joseph Fritzl?
No.
I think his name is.
I have not. I've been holding off.
Are you familiar with the story?
Yes, I am.
I couldn't help but think of that as I was watching it this time. Feel free to look it up, anyone who wants to know why.
Part of what makes this movie so disturbing is that there are a number of those stories. There are actually a lot of them.
This is also... This is a weird... Hold on, I got to look something up real quick.
We're doing it this early in the episode?
Okay, that's a much older movie. All right. Interestingly enough, to get into the talk about Barbarian, this is the third in the trilogy of Wow, Detroit Sucks Now movies, along with It Follows and Don't Breathe.
Yep.
Don't Breathe being another movie that has a basement impregnation subplot.
Yep. In a rundown Detroit suburb.
Yeah, what's going on in Detroit, guys?
Urban blight, man.
Apparently.
Once there's, everybody's kind of pulled out, there's no more rules.
Yeah.
So.
I'm sure there's a joke in there somewhere.
Yeah, there is. I heard it when I said it. I was trying to be classy and not mention it, Clay. We have to have standards on this podcast.
It's, for what? This list doesn't have standards. Why do we need to have standards?
Ouch. Coming for Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, got your ass. Yeah, this has it's a very interesting movie across the board because this is one movie. This is one where if you have not watched a trailer, you don't know anything about going into it. I can safely say there is no point where you are going to go, I think I know how this goes, or I think I know how this is going to end.
I think you will know. You will feel that way in the first 20 to 30 minutes.
Yes.
And then you will have no idea.
Yeah.
After certain things happen.
Yeah. So you are a big fan.
I am.
Tell us why you love Barbarian so much.
I think there are a few reasons why I love this movie so much, and I think I'm going to start off with kind of a big thematic one, which is this is a modern horror movie that deals with some capital I issues. None of those issues are grief.
Yes.
So we've moved away from the grief thing, which has been done very well in many movies, but it's kind of refreshing to not focus on
Yeah.
Yeah, my dead family member X, Y, and Z.
Justin Long is dealing with the grief of being a shitty person.
Being an absolute douchebag. So it deals with some kind of big societal issues, some big galaxy-brained things that if you want to talk about, you can. But I think it's also just a genuinely scary movie.
Yeah.
Like, it does a really good job of having tension and suspense and sequences that are really unexpected and creative and genuinely scary.
Yeah.
So it kind of ticks all the boxes for me. Like, you've got your big thematic stuff to chew on if you want to get academic about things, but you can also just watch this movie with your friends and watch them all scream and freak out.
Yes.
So I think it's a great horror movie.
Yeah. Going into it this time, as it started, I wasn't sure how well it was going to hold up on rewatch because so much of what makes it work, especially at the beginning, is the let's use a tired term and say the subversion of expectations.
Sure.
And the ambiguousness of what's going on. And so I was wondering, as it started, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I know this Skarsgård isn't a bad guy. How well is this really going to work if you know that? After about 10 or 15 minutes, I was back into it.
Yeah.
Like, basically, I think it works. I think that beginning part still works, but it really gets going once she finds the room in the basement.
Yeah.
Like, after that point, they really start dialing up the tension and the atmospheric dread and stuff like that.
Definitely.
And I think that's, from that point on, I think you could watch it a million times and it still works.
Yeah, and it still worked for me despite knowing sort of the twists and where it was going. And I think there's a couple reasons. I think the writer/director, like, he knows what the horror movie tropes are. He uses them, but he uses them well.
Yeah.
Like, he gets why they work. Why an open doorway to some space you can't see the extreme end of is scary. Like, he understands that that's frightening by its very nature. He understands that the premise he's set up here is inherently frightening. And so those things, they're deployed well, but I don't feel like I'm being overly manipulated by them.
Yeah.
Like, when Tess shows up to this Airbnb at the very beginning, it's the middle of the night. She's in an unfamiliar area. It's pouring rain. And she goes in and there's already a guy.
Yep.
And he's a young guy. And he doesn't seem overtly threatening. But there are some little red flags. And just the general situation of being like, oh, well, shit, I'm a woman. I'm a young woman. I'm here alone. What do I do? Like the whole movie, she is stuck in this uncomfortable rock in a hard place scenario before anything else gets going. And Skarsgård is perfect casting because the audience knows his sort of reputation in the other movies he's done and the other characters he's played.
What's funny about that, actually, though, is while that is true, most of those characters have so much makeup on, you wouldn't know what he looked like if you just looked at him.
Yeah, but it's still, it's a little wink to the audience.
Yeah,
and he plays it really well.
Oh, he's perfect. Yeah,
where there's sort of a. So the one thing I read about this, I'm getting like really in the weeds really fast.
Please do.
Sorry. Is that the
There's nobody in the town, nobody cutting grass in this town. Get in the weeds.
Oh, I love those weeds. When Kreger, it's Kreger, right?
Yeah.
When Kreger wrote this, he was inspired by the nonfiction book, The Gift of Fear.
Yes, I was reading that, yeah.
Which is like kind of required reading if you're a young woman or a person who's ever been in a position where you feel like you're the vulnerable party.
Because why?
Because why? Because it's sort of, the whole book is about trusting your gut instincts, about learning how to recognize the red flags that you might subconsciously clock, but you sort of use social standards and the manners we've all been ingrained with to just hand wave them away.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that person, like, they've never really done anything that bad to me. Sure, they tend to, claim that they don't believe that my severe nut allergy is actually real, and they keep trying to feed me things with nuts in it. But, like, that's just because they forget, and they don't really understand how bad it is, right? And it's like, no, that person doesn't give a shit about you. Like, that person's doing something on purpose to hurt you.
Right.
So it's, stuff that's minor like that, but also Gavin DeBecker, who writes it, puts it in terms of a lot of, like, intimate relationships, like partners and families, and these moments where you are kind of trying to adhere to a social contract, the other person is not.
Sure.
And, like, how do you start to believe your own instincts when they tell you something's off?
Like
something's
when
not
someone
right.
brings a whoopee cushion to a family event.
You think that person's dangerous?
Just there to cause chaos.
Mm-hmm. But I really like that he started with that premise, because the way it sets up the initial conversations between Tess and Keith, I think it keeps it really grounded and realistic feeling, where at no point does Keith do or say anything that's so, like, all right, this guy's clearly an asshole or a maniac.
Yeah.
Why is she staying in this house? She should get in that car and just drive out of the city. Like, there's little things he does, and I think you can clock them a little more easily if you've either ever been in sort of a relationship like that, or you knew guys like that.
You mean nice guys, Amanda?
Yeah.
Guys who are just trying to be decent people.
Well, that's the thing, is, again, going back to the gift of fear, is the whole thing is that bad people aren't bad 100% of the time.
Right.
Right? Like, everybody has, their good points or neutral points or whatever. And so just because in some ways this person seems fine doesn't mean it negates the way you're feeling about them if they set off alarm bells in your head.
Right.
And so he's nice to her, like, he invites her. He's kind of begrudging at first, but he invites her in out of the rain. He insists she takes the bedroom. He makes her a cup of tea. He even seems, like, thoughtful in a level beyond that when he says, I noticed, I made you the tea and I noticed you didn't have any. So I wanted to wait until you were here to open the wine because I wanted you to know I didn't mess with it. Like, I understand why you would be worried about it. So I wanted to do this openly in front of you, and maybe we could just sit down and have a nice glass of wine and talk. Mm-hmm. And so it seems like, oh yeah, look at this guy. He's so considerate. He's really thoughtful. But in moments of pressure and stress, he sort of belittles her.
Yes.
Like a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And, or gets a little aggressive. Like when she is woken up in the middle of the night because somebody's opened the door.
I'm give him a pass on that one.
I would give him a pass. I would give him a pass on just that one.
Yeah.
But he's pretty angry.
Yeah.
That she wakes him up. He's freaked out. But when he gets freaked out, he gets angry.
That's true.
When she gets freaked out, she apologizes.
Yeah.
If you count how many times Tess says sorry in the first 30 minutes of this movie, it's a lot.
Yeah.
For a character who seems otherwise, like, really put together and willing to sort of stand up for herself, there is that other edge to it where she defers to him when things get tense.
That's why they couldn't cast a Canadian in that role, because it would have been too distracting.
Yeah. Too much stories. Yeah. But then also, like, when she's locked in the basement and he comes to she can see him coming to the front of the house, and she's, like, crying and, like, frantically banging on the window and yelling his name. He laughs at her.
Yeah.
And then when he gets in the house and gets her out of there, she's visibly really upset, and she's trying to explain to him, I found a secret passageway with a room that has a bed and a bucket and a bloody handprint on the wall. And he treats it like, well, I mean, it's a basement. Of course there's a bunch of junk around.
I do love all of the myriad of responses to that room.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, it's a room. It's got a bucket with a bed. Who cares?
Right. But that's the thing, is, like, seeing the different characters and how they respond to that initial room, which is at first the scariest thing in the house and then arguably, like, the least of anybody's worries once things get going. I think it's really illuminating about what kind of lives they've led up to that point.
Yeah. Bad people aren't bad all the time, except for Michael Jackson in that one song. Thriller.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about the Skarsgård stuff is, I would say, it's written as someone who, as you're saying, understands the tropes, but also understands that the concept of that book that you're talking about enough where he can write the male character from a point of view which is someone who is not actively trying to be threatening,
right,
but choosing situations that are ambiguous.
Yes.
It reminded me of that one bit do you remember in The Innkeepers when they have that one bit where she goes up to wake the guy up and he answers the door, he's like in his underwear and he's like, yeah, you want to come in? And then she's like, and it's like, it's not outwardly aggressive or malicious, but there's just something about that moment where it's like, he doesn't realize what's the potential for danger that's there, because he's never dealt with that the way that she has,
right?
And that stuff is I like that stuff because it can be very subtle, and I wouldn't call this movie subtle, but
well, especially since they really point it out, in the initial interactions between Keith and Tess, once they've started getting comfortable with one another. And she says, we'll take tonight, for instance. If I had been here and you'd been the one to show up, you would have just walked right in, no second thoughts, blah, blah, blah. And he sort of said, what, you wouldn't have wanted to let me in? And she was like, hell no, I would not have let you in. Are you crazy? Like, of course I wouldn't have. I'm a woman. I have to worry about this stuff. And he kind of sees it as just sort of like, yeah, but I mean, look at me. I'm a normal guy.
Right.
I think he even says like, well, do I look like some kind of monster?
Yes. Just normal men, innocent men.
Yeah. But I love that conversation too, because it also like foreshadows a bunch of stuff later on in the movie where there's a cut and then it cuts to them talking and she's clearly talking about having gotten out of an unhealthy relationship.
Right, yes.
Where she says, like, he was the kind of person who thought love and control were the same thing. And I became some kind of pet. And I kept going back. And I need to stop. I can't go back anymore. Yeah. And it really lays out, like, a lot of what's coming later.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I also think it's fun because she does all the right things at the beginning, and then the one thing she doesn't do correctly is not that she shouldn't have shared a bottle of wine with him, but when she goes to bed, she doesn't lock her bedroom door.
Right.
And they go out of their way to, again, it's not super obvious, but they show her locking it the first time. Do not show her doing it the second time.
Yeah.
And that's when the door opens. And so arguably, if she hadn't forgotten to lock the door.
Are you victim blaming, Clay?
I'm blaming the alcohol, much like Jamie Foxx would.
Well, it's also, she does everything right. She even takes a picture of his ID.
Yep.
The thing that disarms her is she finds out he's part of this like artists collective.
Right.
That she's interested in and he's interested in the documentaries she wants to work on and all of this stuff. So they have sort of some sort of kind of superficial connection that makes them both feel more like, oh my God, look at this. We have all these things in common.
Yeah. The one thing she doesn't do though that she should have done is she should have texted someone she knew to tell them what was happening.
Right. I am in this Airbnb double booked with this dude. Here's a picture of his photo ID.
Yes.
Anything, if you don't hear from me in 2 days, send help. Yeah. One other thing about like as things start to get more tense, as Tess has found the basement passageway and the initial room with the camera on a tripod and the filthy mattress and bloody handprints, when she tells Keith, she tries to leave.
Yeah.
So she tries to continue to do the right thing. Like she's in tune with her instincts, and her instincts are saying, we gotta get the fuck out of here. This is bullshit. Like, why would you stay here?
Yep.
And he does not believe her, to the point where he physically prevents her from going.
That's true. Yeah.
He physically grabs her and blocks her from exiting the house.
Yeah.
and they don't know each other that well.
And on the other side of that, though, they don't know each other very well. She might be nuts.
She might be nuts, but why wouldn't you just let her go then?
True. That's a good point.
You know, if you thought she was nuts and she was just trying to get away from you or go away from where you were at, it would be sort of like, oh, okay, I mean.
Yeah. Well, I do think there is also the thing there where I think both of them, by the time the night is over, kind of are like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we could go out or something.
Yeah, like especially if she's going to move there for work.
Yeah.
And I think there's definitely an overt attraction between the two of them. They're both good-looking people. They seem like they're peers in a lot of ways. And, you know, he writes her a cute little break a leg today note about her job interview. And she's kind of smiling at his, like, the photo she took of his ID. Like, oh, you know, he's cute.
Which in that case, I can see why maybe he was like, okay, let's try to de-escalate this.
Yeah.
Versus just let her go. Even though he probably should have just let her go. But.
Sure. No, and that's the other thing that's kind of pernicious about this stuff and that I think keeps this movie feeling fairly realistic is that both of them are reacting in reasonable ways.
Yep.
The difference is that she has seen some stuff and he will not take her word for it until he sees it too.
Yeah.
And his unwillingness to say
like climate change.
Yeah, kind of. It's that it is
or
that thing.
Or
it's
the
like,
curve of the earth.
Things exist things continue to exist even if we do not personally experience them. And he can't take her word for it. And I don't know, you could say it's because he doesn't really know her, and so why should he believe her? But on the flip side, there's definitely the gendered aspect to it. And, you know,
from my own personal standpoint, I probably would have also wanted to go at least look at the doorway. If I went down those stairs and saw that secret doorway was there and then saw that room, I would be like, you are correct. We need to go.
But I think that was what he was going to do once he saw that room. I think the momster
That's true.
is what prevented it. I think the difference is that, you know, if I were staying in this Airbnb and this girl came up from the basement sobbing and talking about this room that she found, I would be like, you know what? Yeah, let's call the property managers again.
Yeah.
Let's maybe call the cops. Let's get somebody out here to look at this because this seems wrong.
Yeah.
Like this doesn't seem right. And like no one else is around here. Because that would be the other thing that would get me is like, this neighborhood is abandoned.
Right.
We are the only ones here. If shit goes sideways, no one knows we're out here and no one's going to hear us. So I'm not risking it to see some creepy room in the basement. I will look at the creepy room in the basement when the cops are here with guns.
Yes.
Like, that's when I will go down there with a lot of lights and armed people. But again, you know, he the ways in which Keith sort of overrides her are not over the top.
Right.
They're not played ridiculously. He's not a caricature. He has enough of an edge to him that you spend the first half hour of the movie being like, is he a bad guy? Mm-hmm. Which is just like fun and adds to the atmosphere of the movie. But at no point does he feel like, oh, come on, this guy's obviously a serial killer. Like, why would she stay in the house with him? Like,
right.
It never goes that far. And that's really good because
Which
it
is
allows
why they
you
didn't cast someone who looks like me.
Right.
She would have been like, you know what? Have the place.
That's the thing.
I'll sleep in the car.
If I had shown up on a dark and stormy night to an Airbnb to find if we were strangers and you were the guy in there, I would have been like, you know what? Wrong house. Sorry.
I've told you.
Good night.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
I've told you that I had a friend once say to me, if I didn't know you and I saw you walking down the same side of the street, I would cross the street. And I was like, thank you, I guess. Ouch. I guess I'll cut my beard or something. I don't know.
Big intimidating guy. Yeah.
I do what I can.
But yeah, because they're not played as caricatures, it allows you to get invested.
Yeah.
You know, like Tess feels like a real person. And so we don't learn anything really about her background in any detail. We don't need a big like origin setup for either of them. Like we get little hints here and there about their lives. But I think it's easy to care about her.
Yes.
pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Because she seems like a decent person with a good head on her shoulders, at the risk of sounding like someone's nana. And so you want to root for her, because she does seem like she's been doing everything right. And the moment in which she really makes the bad horror movie decision is when Keith goes down into the tunnel and doesn't come back.
Yeah.
The bad horror movie decision is going down there after him. But it's the good person
It's the
decision.
good person thing to do.
Yeah.
And like, even at that point too, you don't know if he's
Right. It could be a trick.
manipulating her.
Yeah.
You know, because he's gone and he's yelling. It could be playing,
Yeah.
you know, crying wolf kind of thing.
Yeah, and he sounds fine at first. Like he goes down there and she yells like, "Do you see it?" And he yells back, "Yeah," or something, and then it just goes silent.
Yeah.
Like there's not like a scream or the sounds of a fight or a bang or anything. It just goes silent, and he stops answering her. And that's really what draws her down and in. And it's because she seems like a good person who can't stand the idea of like leaving somebody in danger.
I will be completely honest with you. Mm-hmm. We've known each other for a long time.
Would you leave me down there?
100%. Yeah. As soon as I would give it till that second door. If I opened that door
Yeah.
and then saw stairs descending down however many hundreds of feet,
Yeah.
you're on your own. Not because I'm afraid. I just don't like stairs. You know?
You were going to say, "I just don't like you." And I was going to be like, damn.
No, I mean, I would say something beautiful at your wake. But
I mean, I would yell down and be like, "You're fine, right?" Yeah, you're fine.
yeah, I mean, like I don't know. I mean, I can't see myself going down that second set of stairs.
I really do think my answer would just be to call somebody else.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
know,
Well, I mean, she tries that.
Yeah.
That doesn't work either.
That's true.
I have to say, as far as the cops go,
Cop plot.
I'm on the fence about it, whether or not it's like a little too much, because they are very dismissive of her. Mm-hmm. However, they are police officers in a part of the city where, by the looks of her, she
Yeah.
kind of looks like she's a meth addict or something.
Yeah.
and is a nut.
Yes.
And so I can see the rationale for not wanting to spend cop time on this instance. But I feel like regardless of what they look like,
Yeah.
if someone comes up to, especially a woman, doesn't have to be a woman, especially if it's a woman, comes up to you as a police officer and says, "I have been held hostage in a basement. Please help me."
Yeah.
I feel like you probably need to at least check it out.
Do you think her race had anything to do with it?
It's possible. I was
Yeah.
thinking about that, but then, you know, I hate doing this backflipping stuff because
Yeah.
it's like, well, the cop was also black.
That doesn't stop. I mean, you know,
Yeah, but it's...
if she's in an area that is like lower income and has historically been home to more black people and people of color, and it's gone in this direction,
Yeah.
and she's filthy and she's been held in a basement for a couple weeks, she has no ID on her, she's talking kind of crazy talk.
trying to kick her way into the one nice house.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
I will say,
as a woman of color, like if she were a blonde white lady, would it have been a little different? Maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
They would have just been a little less harsh as they rejected her. Maybe it would have made no difference.
Yeah.
But I do think, you know, the point of it is sort of like how quickly your physical presentation can flip the way you're perceived.
Yeah.
You know?
I do, on the other side of that, I do think it was probably a conscious decision to make the cop that she's interacting with black, because I think if it was the white cop,
Yeah.
then it becomes too hammy.
Yeah, it's
like
a
it's
little
like, yeah,
too
of course, the
easy
white
to be
cop
like,
doesn't talk to
yeah.
the black or whatever.
Yeah.
But,
Whereas this way
it's a little muddier.
right, and it sort of maybe adds to the idea of like these cops encounter this kind of shit all the time.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, especially
to be
in that
fair,
area. Yeah.
that might not even be the first time they've encountered somebody who's escaped from that house.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know?
Yeah.
If weird shit's been going on in there for more than 40 years,
In
maybe
that
every
case,
so often.
Maybe they should check it out.
You know, but like maybe you're just kind of used to it. Maybe you've gone in there before. I'm not, you know, I'm making things up. I'm reaching, but like, just the idea that you've probably, as a police officer who has to deal with this kind of area on a regular basis, you've probably gotten pretty jaded.
Yep.
About, what people are saying and why they're saying it. Like, are they on drugs? Are they messed up in some other way? Is it like untreated mental health issues? Like, if you're overwhelmed and inundated with all the stuff you're trying to deal with in this not great area, do you have time?
Right.
To stop and help this lady who might be just hallucinating?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that calls them away is like a shots fired or someone gets shot or something. I can't remember, but it is a more immediate need.
Yeah.
One of the things that I really love about this is going back to what you were saying about the director knowing the horror movie kind of tropes and stuff. Mm-hmm. I think that comes through even on top of the character writing, visually.
Yes.
I think that comes through very, very well.
Yeah.
Because he does a lot of horror movie camera moves and does not pay them off. Like when the Justin Long stuff starts especially, he does a lot of like let the camera hang in a position where in most other movies something would happen at the end of that shot, but nothing happens.
And even at the beginning of the movie, he lets the camera hang and something does happen. And then later on, he does it and purposely doesn't.
Yes.
Like when Tess goes into the room to check on Keith when he's having a nightmare, and she walks into the room off camera, and then you see the basement door close like behind her. There are shots similar to that in the second half of the movie with Justin Long, where he just like leaves.
Yeah.
And then the next scene starts and nothing particularly creepy happens. It's great.
Yeah, it's a really good understanding of the genre that you're playing with, and it's like that's what makes stuff like this more, at the risk of sounding cheesy, rewarding, as opposed to. I think stuff like this is it really highlights why the more jump scary stuff feels so not insulting, but kind of, because it's like in those cases they're manipulating you to feel a certain way, which feels unfair because it's all just like banging pots and pans in front of your face.
Right.
But here, understanding that's what some people are expecting, he's using that in sort of the opposite way to create the suspense by not having anything happen.
Right. Like, to just like the moment where Keith has gone into the basement and stops answering, the lack of sound is the scary thing there. Not that you heard him start to scream and you heard some inhuman screeching or something. Yeah. It's the fact that everything has gone completely silent. That is the scary part.
There's also, you watch enough of these movies and you kind of, the ones that are, I don't know, not bad, but you start to pick up the rhythm of how these movies are kind of like cut and stuff. And so like you start to recognize subconsciously or otherwise that most of the time in a scene, if there's a single person and things get really quiet, something loud's going to happen. Or, you can almost get down to like, okay, it's 2, 3, 4, ghost. Like it's almost like it's just a pattern that you begin to recognize. And so when you get something like this where it's like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, scene change, you're like, wait a minute, like that. Then you start to get a little bit because you're
right. Like I thought this was going to happen, and then it doesn't.
The other thing that he does, which I love, is I think with only once or twice does he start the shot of a new area from inside that area, which is my number one. I know I've talked about that before, where I hate in a scary movie when someone opens a door and they immediately cut the camera to inside the room. Yeah. Because the scariest thing about it is going into the room. Right. And if you put the camera inside the room, even if it's dark, you're already inside the space, And here he does a really nice job of purposefully not doing that. So you get these moments where when she opens the door down the cellar, it doesn't cut to an inside the hallway shot. Right. I think maybe Maybe they do it when she... No, I don't think they do. No, because I was going to say maybe they do it with the room with the camera and the bed, but I don't think they do.
The one moment I think they do it, the one moment I can remember that he does it is when she's opened the secret door in the basement and she sees that it's very dark and that it keeps going. And she finds an old mirror.
Yep.
And she positions the mirror to sort of shine a light down it. And then she kind of looks and then she walks into the doorway and for a second it switches.
Yes.
So you can see her sort of outlined by the lit mirror behind her before she walks in.
Yeah.
But that one's clearly more... we are setting something else up.
Right. They've already established the space.
Yeah.
But like when she goes to the room with the bed and the camera, I'm pretty sure the first time you see that is from outside the room.
Yes, it's her point of view,
And
which
in
is
the
why
same with the baby room with the video.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
When
The media room.
The media room. The mother baby room.
Yes. You know what? I'm just glad that they have a space.
Yeah.
For a mother and child where she can just go and breastfeed in peace and not be bothered.
There's like a name for those, but I'm blanking on what places will like designate them, like a pumping room or whatever. Like workplaces. Yeah. But it's part of what makes that
the guy
room
in Don't Breathe had a pumping room too.
Yuck, gross. It's part of what makes that room with the bed and the camera so frightening is because when she first looks into it, she kind of just sees the camera in the corner, and then it's not, the point of view camera sort of pans from that like it's her eyesight, and then she catches sight of the bed, and then she catches sight of the bucket, and then at the very end she sees that handprint on the wall.
It's the Bob in Twin Peaks thing.
Yes.
Bob isn't scary in that scene unless you don't know he's coming when you're looking through the room. If you were to go shoot inside the room and you see Bob at the foot of the bed, not scary.
Yeah. But yeah, and I think the underground scenes are great because they're claustrophobic and disorienting, but they're very pared down. Like there's not a lot of fanciness to those tunnels. Like there's they're not they're dark. And
it's because they only probably built 20 feet of tunnel and had to use it for many different scenes.
But you don't need to make them like super labyrinthine, you know, like you don't need to have them like running in circles and like circling back on themselves. It's enough to have them just look bland enough and very dark.
Yes.
That all it would take is panicking and turning around a couple times and then not remembering which direction you came from.
Right.
You're lost right there.
Yep.
You don't need a lot more than that. And having the momster lurking down there is enough.
It's one of the things that's so fun about this movie, though, is once you start getting into that stuff, if you haven't seen it before, hopefully you are in it enough to not go like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
This is like hundreds of feet of tunnel.
Yes.
This one guy did this?
Right.
Or like, even if he had a family of weird inbred monsters, it's like...
Yeah, I don't think they're also structural engineers.
Yeah, like he's got to be under somebody else's property at this point.
Probably.
Somebody else's basement. But yeah, it's... they use the darkness of the tunnels very effectively.
Yes.
You know, there's nothing that they bring into a scene that they don't remember to use. Like when she's trying to sneak out and she kicks the tape measure. Yeah. That's a great moment.
Man, I remember first seeing it and just being like, oh, fuck.
What's
like,
great about
so
that,
good.
too, is tape measures have such an identifiable sound.
Yes, they're so loud.
Yes.
Like there's the clatter of them hitting each other is so jarring.
Yes.
This movie also does a really fun thing where it breaks the tension on purpose a bunch. Like early on, first we get, Tess is in this really tense situation where you're not so sure about Keith and all that. And then the next day, she goes on an interview.
Yeah.
And it's very, it feels like a different movie.
Yep.
All of a sudden you feel like you're, in an episode of a network TV show that's, well done.
Yeah.
And it breaks that tension of that darkness and claustrophobia. And then later on, when you get the great switch, which is after Tess has followed Keith down to the basement and the momster has smushed his head against the wall like an egg she didn't want. And then it cuts to Justin Long's character, AJ.
Yep.
Just like cruising down the coastal highway in his stupid car.
Chilling out, having a good time, listening to Donovan.
Yeah.
It's a good song. Good pull.
Yeah.
That's a great song.
Yeah. How do you feel about AJ?
That, again, no idea. Didn't even know
Yep.
he was in the movie.
Yep, had no idea.
And that stuff is really interesting. Because like that's one thing where I feel like there was a period, I hope we're coming out of this a little bit, but I feel like there was a period of about, I don't know, let's ballpark and say 4 years for no particular reason.
Sure.
Where stuff was so heightened that anytime stuff like this popped up in a movie or in a TV show, everybody immediately has a visceral reaction to it in one way or the other. And so getting into this kind of stuff in this movie at first was like, oh, this is very topical, but B, I don't know where this is going, and I don't know what like the angle is here.
Yeah.
But once you get into it and see how they use all of the accusations of sexual assault stuff to really do a good job of telling you who this person is.
Yes.
Because it's not even like it's I don't really know where I'm trying to go here, but it's a great through line to see how he reacts to that stuff that is totally consistent with the way he reacts to everything else.
Yes.
And so my favorite part of the movie, I think, is when at the end, when they're sitting with the homeless guy and he has the moment where he like has his change of heart.
Yes, his character development.
And then immediately throws it out the window.
Yep.
At the first sign of trouble.
Yep. Because that's, again, it's kind of, again, about this. A lot of this movie, I think, is about at its heart, like, who are you under pressure?
Yeah.
Like, who are you when everything else is stripped away and you're either vulnerable or in danger or you think no one's watching?
Yep.
Like, what do you do in those moments? There are so many moments where Tess could have been like, fuck this, fuck that guy. I barely even know him. I've met him once. I'm out. Or I don't even know this person at all. He's on his own. I'm getting the fuck out of here. And she doesn't do that. She goes back. She goes back to help.
Yep.
There are moments for AJ where moments we see in the movie and moments we don't see but we hear about, where when he thinks there's no consequences, he's willing to pressure a woman into having sex with him in a really gross way that constitutes rape. It's not violent, but it still is rape.
Yeah. It's interesting that he is the kind of person that she thinks Keith is.
Yes.
You know, like her guard that she has up is specifically to save her from someone like AJ.
Exactly. Exactly. He's a mundane type of shitty dude.
Right.
Shitty person, you know? Like, there's nothing exceptional about his kind of grossness.
Yeah.
And he's not violent. He's not over the top. He's not some maniac. And he maybe deep down knows he's done some bad stuff, but he doesn't think he's a bad guy.
Right.
Like, that's the whole point, is like, yeah, he does that moment when they're sitting with the other homeless dude in the neighborhood and he says, maybe I'm a bad person or maybe I'm a good person who just did a bad thing.
Yep. And even there, he's hedging his bets.
Oh, yeah.
Because his whole thing is he just doesn't take accountability for anything.
Yeah.
And even in that moment where he does, he's also like, well, but maybe it's, not really my fault.
Yeah.
And maybe I am the victim.
Yes, he does that throughout. Like, I think it's really telling that in the scenes where we're kind of getting to know AJ and his situation, when he talks to other people, he is like vociferous in his denials that he ever did anything wrong to the woman who's accusing him of rape. And he says to his accountant, like, the accusations are obviously 100% false. And he says to different people in various ways, but most of them involve the phrase fucking bitch.
Yes.
I'm going to ruin this fucking bitch. I'm going to destroy this fucking bitch. This fucking bitch has destroyed my life. Like, he's so vitriolic towards the woman who's accusing him in this really over the top, like it's so distinct when he's talking about it. When all of a sudden he goes from this kind of like, yeah, hey, what's up? Yeah, cool, whatever. That fucking bitch. And you're like, whoa, okay. That's what he does when he's talking to other people. When he's drunk and alone and sad and feeling sorry for himself, he calls her.
Yeah.
And he leaves her this sad sack voicemail where he still won't take responsibility, but he tries to sort of weasel his way out of it by being like, I'm really sorry if I like offended you or like hurt you in any way. I would never do that. And like, maybe we could just talk. And like, sometimes people have two different versions of events.
Yeah.
Like, at no point will he take responsibility. And I kind of love that this movie, there is no hero turn for him.
No, very much not.
Yeah. And I kind of love that it doesn't let him have it.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, he just kind of sucks.
It's also interesting. Like, it feels very out of left field well, it is a very hard turn when he gets introduced. Mm-hmm. But that whole thread feels on its face like it kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. But
what they're really giving you in this is kind of two sides of the same coin of very modern fears that are specific to each gender, right?
Yeah.
Because like when the AJ stuff starts, it's just portrayed as like a Kafka-esque kind of thing where it's like this guy, he's got the whole world in front of him, and then some fucking bitch shows up and tries to ruin it.
Right.
And then like his assets get shut off and he gets fired, but his lawyer lets him go. And it's like in that moment in time, at least, I'm sure it's probably still in the air now. That was like the fear that men had.
Yeah.
Was being accused of something like
getting
that.
Canceled.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's interesting because in the context of the movie, the first dude you meet in this movie is Keith. Mm-hmm. And he turns out to be fine.
Yeah.
And then he turns out to get murdered. Mm-hmm. Like, Keith doesn't do anything really wrong. Like I said, sometimes it's sort of like, dude, you could have maybe just let her go, or like you didn't have to be kind of a jerk about it. But in general, he's a decent, normal person. And he gets killed out of very suddenly.
Yeah.
The moment when he gets killed by the monster, it's really fast. So the movie has set you up, giving you this ambiguous guy to start with. And who's to say it hasn't given you another one?
Right.
You don't know at that point in the movie, is AJ being legitimately accused of something or is he not?
And it's Justin Long, who is kind of like the inverse casting of...
Yes.
He's too good at this character.
Yeah.
Because watching this, I kind of go like, is he like a shitty person in real life? By all accounts, I believe that is not the case.
I don't think so.
Okay, we're good. That was scary.
One of our friends sent me a blind item, sort of, not a blind item, but a gossip sort of thing that was somebody from his high school years talking about how he'd get shoved into lockers all the time.
Oh yeah.
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 But
did he deserve it?
I don't
is
know.
The question.
I don't know. But so yeah, you don't know if like you're like, all right, maybe he kind of sucks, but maybe he's also not this bad.
Yeah.
And so there's a doubt that runs through it until that scene where he's in the bar with his old friends or somebody, and they're like, well, she didn't say no, did she? And he's like, well, yeah, I mean, she did at first. And then you're like, oh.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
I give the movie credit for the application of fucking bitch, because it's when that's used well, it really is jarring.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's also such a go-to insult.
It is, but it's the kind of thing I kind of feel like, at least among certain people, you don't really hear it that much unless it's someone trying to be as mean as they can.
Yeah.
So anytime they have a character say something like that, I feel they do it all the time in wrestling. When they want someone to go really hard, the women do it all the time. where
Yeah.
they call the other woman a bitch, and everybody goes, "Oh my
Yeah.
god!" But like in season 6 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, bringing it back, there's the villains are the 3 guys. They're just guys.
Oh, yeah.
And one of them is like extremely misogynistic.
Yeah.
And, they say, a variety of low-level swears in that show. You don't really hear someone call someone a bitch. And so when he does it, it's like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
And I feel like it has the same effect in this, where it's like, that's not really a word anybody said in this movie.
Yeah.
The way that it comes up and the way that it's like the first thing that he goes to
Yes.
when he hears this news
Yeah.
immediately makes you go, I don't think this guy's telling the truth. Or
Yeah.
at the very least, I don't know. He doesn't seem like a great guy.
Yeah, and I think it's emphasized by the fact that he is willing to talk like that about this woman in front of so many people. Like, he's
Yeah.
not even trying to keep the veneer of like, well, like
He says it on the phone call, I think, right?
Yeah, with the agent and whoever lawyer or whatever who he's talking to.
And then he says it to his mother.
And he says it to his accountant.
Yeah.
Like, he says it all the time. He says it to everybody pretty much.
Yeah.
And his clear idea of it is that they're all going to agree with him.
Yes.
Like, he feels safe saying that.
Yeah.
He feels like it's a normal thing to say and an appropriate reaction to the situation. So it kind of tells you something about him in terms of all that. And it's also really interesting seeing how AJ reacts when he finds Frank.
Yeah.
When he finds the old man in the basement in his room and he watches some of the tape.
Yeah.
And he turns to Frank and he says, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
And it's because in his mind, I think in AJ's mind, that's rape.
Right.
Like what Frank did to these women and then the generations of children, I guess, he created with them. Like, that's rape. What AJ thinks what he did was just, quote unquote, being persistent.
Right.
And he does not see those two things as connected at all.
Right.
And so it's really interesting to watch him get angry and nearly violent with Frank, but still kind of deny his own place on that spectrum of like shitty person who's done a shitty thing.
Yeah.
So it's just fascinating how like he can get so indignant, but he's extremely not self-aware.
Yeah. Speaking of Frank, we get a bit of a flashback
Yes.
to Frank as he was in his younger days. I guess kind of younger. He still looks like he's in his 60s, but it's a really sharp contrast visually. The colors get a lot brighter. They start doing this thing where they're using like a wide angle lens, so everything they're using a wide angle lens and they keep Frank almost in every shot directly in the middle of the frame, so he's not really getting affected by the lens, but
Yeah.
everything around him is getting really elongated, and it creates a subtle kind of unnerving kind of effect.
Yeah.
And you see Frank going through the motions of how he kidnaps people to bring them down into the basement for whatever he's doing down there. How do you feel about the Frank stuff, the flashback?
I like it. I think it kind of both does the thing again of breaking the tension, because when you get the Frank flashback, it's when AJ has fallen into the pit
Right.
with Tess. And Tess kind of comes out of the darkness shushing at him. And then we immediately cut to Frank. So you have no idea really at that moment, like, the fuck is this guy?
Right.
You might have some idea, but you see him come out of the house. It's clearly a different era. Everything is very bright and colorful. The
Seems
neighborhood
to
is
be-
very clean.
It seems to be right at the beginning of the downfall of the neighborhood, because that one neighbor is like, yeah, we're going to move.
Yeah.
And that seems to be, the first domino to fall.
Yeah, he says something like, we're worried if we don't go now, we won't be able to get out in a year. And the cars are older and all of that stuff. So you're back in time. And obviously, Frank probably owned the house, but it's not, he's unnerving right away, but you don't know for sure exactly who he is or where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't explicitly tell you at any point. It just kind of shows you everything.
Yeah.
Like he goes to the store to pick up baby things.
Yes.
And clearly has no idea about any of it.
Mm-hmm.
And on his way back home, he stops to pretend to be some sort of handyman or man with the utilities company because he's followed a woman home, and he gets into her house and he just goes into the bathroom, turns on the water on the faucet, unlocks her bathroom window, and leaves.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's very much like setting up that she's going to be a victim.
Yeah.
But you don't see him do anything. And then when he gets home, it's not until he goes to the back of the house and he opens the basement door you hear screaming in the basement.
Yeah.
And then I think he closes the door and we get back into the present day.
Do you think this is the first time he's doing... He must have been doing this for a while, right? Like, this can't be the first time he's doing it, even though he doesn't really...
It might be the first baby
Yeah, first baby.
that's coming out of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, again, once you stop to, like, think about what you're watching...
Yeah.
This time around, I was like, wait a minute. So how many times do you have to do this to get a crazy giant monster mom creature?
Mm-hmm.
And
right. Who's like giant and superhumanly strong.
yeah, like what's the end game here? I mean, if we know anything about incest, the royal family are not exactly the strongest people in the world.
Yeah, I think
Got your ass, England.
yeah.
Man,
Suck it,
getting
King
everybody's
Charles.
ass.
I think that's the moment where this turns more into Hansel and Gretel style fairy
Yeah.
tale rather than a grounded, realistic story.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that's maybe a little bit of a stumbling block for some people at some moments. of,
Again, like I said, hopefully you are in it enough
Right.
that you're not questioning this stuff.
Right.
Because it's just going to make you go, it's just going to take you out of it. And
Yeah.
It's like, it's all these, that doesn't matter.
yeah, and if you take it more as like, that they've sort of like once one character goes underground, in my mind, this movie stops being actually connected to reality.
That's fair.
Like
Yeah.
once they've gone down there once, we're in a warped fairy tale version of reality now, where it's the big bad wolf or Hansel and Gretel, like old school pre-Grimm's fairy tales when they were just like crazy ass folk tales about, people chopping up their kids and eating them. Like that's where we're at in this movie by the end.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I also found myself thinking this time, what exactly was the end game for him? Like, what is he doing?
For Frank?
Yeah. Like, is the momster the end game?
I mean, I don't think that it was about a specific, like, I have a plan to make X or do X. I think it is, I like terrorizing women.
Okay,
Like,
that's fair.
I like violently abducting and keeping women as sex slaves. And if they have girl children, I will use them as sex slaves too. I think it's just a deeply disturbing and fucked up person who is doing this for his own. It's the thing Tess says about her ex at the beginning. Somebody who conflates love and control.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think the only reason that I get caught on that is because I feel like by that point in the movie, you're kind of hoping you're going to get a little bit more of a grand reveal of like what the hell's going on. And they don't really give it to you.
Yeah.
Which I like.
Yeah.
But, when you're in the position of having a microphone in front of you and you can start talking about it, you go, why? What is the point of this? What are we doing?
But it's sort of like in the real life examples of these men who abduct these women and keep them in all sorts of homemade dungeons and shit. What is their end game?
Yeah. Right.
It's just to keep the women.
Yeah.
That's it. It's to control these women.
You shouldn't be doing the math like I started doing when wait a minute, the homeless guy said,
yeah, 40
it's a copy of a copy of a copy. How many times do you have to do this before you get a giant monster?
No, don't do that.
Like, so I don't know. Like, what depend? this is puberty and this time has changed,
Just
baby.
luck and genetics, I guess.
Anyway, so we're getting into the end here.
Yes.
When the two of them escape the house.
Yes.
They get taken in by the homeless man who gives them
AJ has shot Tess.
Yes.
When
Which,
he
honestly...
very much shouldn't have, because she was standing in the one lit doorway in the whole underground area.
Yeah.
And he just straight up shot her.
Yeah, that's one of those moments where, like, you can really go either way on it, where it's like, maybe he did it because he was scared. Maybe he, like... it feels like something he did just in the moment.
Yeah.
And wasn't intentional.
No. I don't think he was like, oh, there's that girl, I'm going to shoot her.
Yeah.
I think it was just purely another body.
Yeah.
Bang.
I forgot to mention, you talked about how they specifically break tension and stuff. I think my favorite comedic beat in the movie is when Justin Long discovers the room. And then immediately starts Googling whether underground tunnels count as square footage
in your real estate. And he gets the tape measure and he just starts moving the furniture in the torture room in order to measure it more accurately.
Very, very good.
Yeah. It's such a good gag, and it really does say so much about what kind of person he is.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, the homeless guy gives him a little bit of the rundown of what's been going on over there, and then promptly gets his arm torn off and beaten to death with it.
How dare you take her babies?
Yes. So yeah, then you get the final sequence where they run up to the water tower.
Yep.
And how do you feel about the ending, which involves Justin Long sacrificing her to the monster in order to save his own skin, and then trying to rationalize why he did it afterwards?
Yeah. The first time I watched it, I had mixed feelings about the ending because I think I was still too much in the mode of, because this movie does start feeling very realistic and the characters feel very real at first. I think I was looking too much for like more of a logical ending. And then watching this again and kind of thinking more about the themes of it and kind of just letting the absurd stuff happen. I think this ending is great.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I don't know how else you would end this kind of movie in any sort of way that would feel satisfying. And I think part of why it feels so satisfying is Justin Long as AJ continuing to just be a bad person.
Yeah.
And continuing to refuse to take responsibility for his own shitty decisions, and then finally getting a comeuppance.
Yeah.
And then Tess gets to save herself and limp away and live to see another day.
Because the way that most people probably think it's going to end is AJ gets killed in a moment of self-sacrifice or something,
right.
selflessness.
He's learned his lesson and he's been through enough that it's changed him as a man. And, even if he's going to die, at least now he'll die a good person.
Yeah, like he could have... he tackles her off the top of the thing.
Right.
Or,
I'll distract her long enough. Like, you get away. Like, no.
No.
Great
ending.
Yep.
And as in honor of the great Roger Corman, who passed away recently, they know well enough that the movie's over as soon as the monster's dead.
Yep.
And she shoots it in the head.
Yep.
Hard cut. End credits. Be My Baby by the Chanterelles or whoever it is singing.
But we do get that great, absolutely disgusting moment of the monster's long fingernails piercing Justin Long's eyes and all the eye goo coming out down his face.
I have a lot of respect for Justin Long because he seems to be down to do some weird shit. Because he was also in that Kevin Smith movie where he gets turned into a walrus at the end.
Oh, yeah.
And he was in the first Jeepers Creepers movie. I think that might have been the first thing I saw him in, which also involved... Well, he got skinned at the end of that, I think. But that's a series of movies we won't be covering, as they were directed by a pedophile. So,
hey, Hollywood.
Yeah, great place for kids.
I think the gore in this is well done.
Yeah, very well done.
It's like sparing, like it's sparse. There's not a ton of it, but where it shows up, it's good.
Yeah. They the monster looks great.
Yeah.
You don't really get a ton of looks at it. I feel like, man, they really can't resist the Alien 3 shot, huh? Because I think they do it in this one too, where it's like she's cowering, and then his head comes into screen. I mean, it's a great shot. And fitting, as the director described this movie as a Fincher movie on the top floor and a Raimi movie under the house.
I like it.
It was set on Barbary Street.
Yes.
Which is a nice touch.
Yes.
The title of the movie, this is a real conspiracy theory type thing, but maybe this is the case. The title of the movie is written only using the letters from Airbnb.
Yeah, I think that's probably more of a fun coincidence than
Yeah.
like a, Illuminati conspiracy, but fun.
Yeah. Yep, and you already went through all the Gift of Fear stuff. Its placement on the list. It is currently sitting pretty at 101, which it has dropped from last week, or the last time I looked, which was at 73. It's 101. How do you feel about it?
I mean, I would put this very much in the top 100.
Yeah.
Probably even closer to the top 50.
Okay.
I really like this movie, and I do think it's actually scary.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of is a culmination of a lot of the trends of the last 10 or 15 years in horror, but it's not quite so precious about things.
It's funny. It's interesting watching this back to back with Smile, because I feel like Smile is kind of the opposite end of this, where it's
Yes.
like Smile feels like so many of these other movies, whereas this is aware of the time it's being made, but is completely original and feels new.
Yeah, and it is really like I wanted to touch on that too, where there are so many parallels you could draw between this and Smile, and the fact that they come out in the same year is just wild to me.
Yeah.
Like the same year.
Hot Momster Summer.
Yeah.
That year.
There you go. Yeah. Giant monsters, kind of the main female character who you're rooting for to make it through this thing, who's being, stalked or tormented by the monster. Some pretty good gore stuff.
Acceptable cop plot.
Kind of ends in a house. Or the house is kind of a focal point. But I don't know where Smile fell so flat for me. This one ticks all the boxes. And I'm still sort of trying to pin down a lot of why.
Yeah.
And I really do think it has something to do with like being willing to use the horror tropes well and kind of just focusing it more on like, no, there's actually just a physical monster.
Yeah.
Well,
the trope thing too, it's what I appreciate so much about it is it's not doing it in a cute way. And I feel like a lot of movies that try to do this just are too cute with it, where it's like it kind of gets too close to like Scream territory.
Yeah.
Where they're inverting something and they want to make sure that they're inverting it.
And that they know that they're inverting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with this one, it's like he's going to do it as a way to manipulate you, but he's not going to draw attention to it.
Yeah.
The one time they do is when she finds the doorway, and they do that big like kind of like doom kind of music reveal, and she just goes, nope.
Yeah.
And then she leaves. That's the one time where they kind of draw your attention to it.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's a lot of very subtle knowing how these movies are made and playing with the formula in a way that is very effective.
Yeah, and I think being willing to break the tension at different times and introduce a little bit of levity, Justin Long with his tape measure.
Yep.
Or whatever. Like, I think that goes a long way. Like,
definitely.
Giving you those moments of reprieve in well-spaced intervals and then drawing you back into the dark basement.
Yeah.
Works really well.
Yeah. I think I like it where it is. I think 101 is a pretty solid place because I tend to hedge my bets with these more recent movies just because it's like buying the jersey of a guy who's still playing, You never know what's going to happen.
Sure.
I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who have bought jerseys for their favorite guy on their local sports team who can no longer wear that jersey for whatever reason. That's why you got to wait till they retire. They retire that number, then you can show your support for them.
But I will also say, like, this movie does a really good job of being a modern horror movie and not shying away from it, but also not making it a focal point. You know, this isn't like Host, where the whole point is that they're on a Zoom meeting or whatever, or Zoom hangout. But they're renting things through Airbnb, and they all have cell phones. Like, they all have smartphones and are using them to take pictures and using the flashlight function on them. But they very cleverly physically situate the movie somewhere where none of that shit matters.
Yeah, it is a good use. It is a good modern movie that makes use of cell phones.
Yes,
because people are always like, well, cell phones make things so. It's like, buddy, it's the same thing. My own personal field. When people are like, oh, Superman sucks. He's got all the powers. He's too strong. It's like, but it's not that Superman sucks. I'm sorry, you have to get creative to figure out how to use these things to tell a story. The same with the cell phones. You know, cell phones ruin everything. So you figure out how to use it. They're not going anywhere.
Right.
You can't set every movie in 1983.
Yeah. As
much as people might want to.
They might want to. But I feel like in 20, 25 years, you know, you could watch this movie and obviously some of the surface stuff is going to seem dated, but I think it'll still work.
Yeah.
Like as a horror movie that's actually scary, and that the premise will still work.
That is
it really
interesting.
is more about the relationships between people.
Yeah.
And the ways in which we frighten each other and ourselves, and whether or not that's warranted. Like, that's more important to this movie than any of the, you know, technology trappings around them.
That is interesting, though. I would be curious to see how this plays in 10 or 15 years, whether or not the Justin Long stuff specifically feels dated. Not that stuff is going to stop happening, but it's so part of the zeitgeist for the last few years that I wonder how it'll play, you know, if it'll feel more dated because of it.
Yeah. I don't think they make it into sort of a big Me Too moment. So I think it'll still work, but you know.
So you're saying
we'll see.
You have no faith that humanity will fix itself in the next 10 to 15 years?
If we're all still here, I'll be shocked.
Yeah, well, at least there'll be more beachfront property. Anyway, that's going to do it for Barbarian. So, next episode will be either... I'm going to see if we can... We'll maybe record a day early, because if we do that, then it will come out on Halloween.
Ooh.
I had something in mind for Halloween. But before I tell you what that was, we need to go to the list. Last episode, I mentioned that there has been a major shakeup on the list. I'm still not entirely sure what caused it, but there are some new movies on there, some recent movies on there that I'm actually excited to talk about. I went through everything to see how things have changed.
Jesus.
I would say 80% of the changes have been movies dropping spots, which is really interesting. So just assume most of it has changed and things have dropped. The things that have moved up, Frankenstein has moved up from 33 to 19. Ginger Snaps is back on the list, having been removed before at number 97. House of the Devil has been completely removed.
Oh.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre has moved up one spot to 94 from 95.
Okay.
Wreck is back on the list after being removed in the last go around. I gotta figure what my colors mean. Same. Sisters has been removed.
Oh.
The Invitation has bumped up from 142 to 138. The Witch has bumped up from 123 to 120. The starting place for The Witch was 31.
Jeez.
And now it is at 123. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, unfortunately, off the list.
Aww.
Frailty off the list.
Oh.
The Fly, 1958, has bumped up one spot from 91 to 90. Train to Busan has bumped up from 26 to 22. Peeping Tom, bumping up from 46 to 40. Suspiria, bumping up one spot from 50 to 49. Repulsion, 32 to 23. Rosemary's Baby, 18 to 17. Making a play for the top 10 there.
Yeah.
The Birds, moving up from 53 to 51. Videodrome, 188 to 184. Bride of Frankenstein moved up one spot to number 19.
Jeez.
Get Out has moved from 6 to 4.
Huh.
Psycho has moved from 7 to 5. Night of the Hunter has moved from 36 to 32. One Cut of the Dead has moved up a spot from 8 to 7. And that's it for. And Smile obviously has been removed.
Huh.
Another movie that has been removed was the movie that we were going to do next episode. But since, as I alluded to previously, technically this is a makeup episode, it still counts. And so for our Halloween episode,
Hold on to your butts.
we will be covering what used to be number 196 on this list, Bram Stoker's Dracula.
We're finally doing it.
Yes. So at the very least, we can be
Again.
honest about actually doing 100+ episodes.
Yes.
I think it's been enough time. It's been like 3 years.
Yeah, it
It's
has.
been a long time.
It's been a long time.
So I think it's enough space
Yes.
where we can have the conversation about it and hopefully have it feel organic.
Yeah.
And not that we're just trying to remember what we said
Yeah.
the last time. So, next
Oh,
episode,
boy.
Bram Stoker's Dracula, removed from the list, number 196 in our hearts.
Yes.
So, thank you guys for listening. If you'd like to help support the show, head over to patreon.com/The Penske File, where you can follow us as we go through the Halloween series. This in October, we're doing Rob Zombie's Halloween 2,
Yes.
which will be very interesting to talk about because that is it's a weird movie.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready for it.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that seems to be getting talked about a lot now because after the second Joker movie came out and everybody hated it. I thought it was great.
Oh.
But people are saying that they specifically made a bad movie to prevent them from making more because they didn't want to make a sequel,
Yikes.
which is kind of what people said about Halloween 2, which
Cutting
is
off your nose to spite your face.
yeah, Rob Zombie didn't want to do a sequel, and they were going to do it anyway. And so he was like, okay, well, if you're going to do it, then let me do it. And then basically crashed the plane.
Great. Can't wait.
I think I generally think that is giving too little credit to
Mr. Zombie?
anyone who does that. Like, I don't think they, well, maybe they did in the Joker's case. I'm not sure. But I feel like there's more to it there than just, making it suck
Okay.
in order for people to stop asking for it.
Yeah.
But we'll see when we get into Halloween 2.
Yes.
But thank you guys for listening. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you, Amanda.
Thanks, Clay.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye,
When we
everyone.
cross oceans of time to bring you episode 196 or whatever it is.
Oh,
Bye.
God. Bye.